Not even 300k viewers. Do you even Viewbot, bro? I mean, I'm trying to. I just don't know how to do it. Oh, guys, did you read that article? Was it the head of Night Media that wrote about viewbotting? I might be mistaken on this, but I'm pretty sure Night Media represent some of the largest streamers, including... You can't actually get their client list unless you specifically request it, but it is public knowledge. You can request it. And if I remember correctly, two of the streamers that they represented, to at least some degree, were both Asmongold and Hassan. So it's very much an kind of organization that is focused entirely on the most views. It's not necessarily either political side, it's just literally views. Mr. Beast as well. Okay, gotcha. Someone once said that organizations like that are neither red nor blue, they're just green. Because it's all about the money and all about the views. Which is fine, because that's a business, it's a corporation, that's what they want to do. Oh, Kai as well. Gotcha. Okay, so it's just like a huge conglomerate of the biggest, most successful people in the world all together. Got it. And the head guy of that said, yeah, you should absolutely be viewbotting if you have enough stuff. People often say, why would a streamer viewbot if it doesn't generate the money, if, you know, the bots aren't subscribing, the bots aren't really watching a lot of the adverts? What's the point? The point is, and some people say, oh, do you just viewbot in order to feed your ego? I'm sure some people do it to feed their ego, but I think the point is that companies that sponsor streamers that don't understand how it works just see the numbers of viewers. That's all they see. The reason people viewbot is, it's multifaceted. Some people do it because they like the ego boost of seeing huge numbers. Some people do it because they think that it puts them on the front page. Some people do it because they think that it gives the illusion of success and there's a level of fake it till you make it with this kind of industry. And some people do it because then when agencies contact them and say, hey, we want to sponsor you, and you do a sponsored stream, those sponsored streams actually pay more based on CCV, or concurrent viewers. If you have a higher average view count, you can simply charge more for sponsorships that you take. So people say, oh, it's actually kind of defrauding these marketing and advertising companies. And yeah, that's, in a way, it absolutely is. The company says, oh my God, I can't believe that you get 10,000 viewers every stream. Therefore, because you advertise this many people, we'll pay you this much. When, you know, 5,000 or 6,000 of those viewers might be botted. You don't know. But it's one of those fake it till you make it. It's like businesses hiring out a Ferrari or a Lamborghini to drop the CEO off him before they make a business deal, because it pretty much just gives the illusion of success. And the Night Media CEO, when he was talking about, hey, you're at a disadvantage if you don't do this, I think he was looking at it purely from a marketing, purely from an optics point of view, because being popular has a huge amount to do with optics. If someone sees that you're getting more than 1,000 viewers stably, you're doing very well on Twitch. If someone sees that you're getting more than 2,000 or 3,000 viewers stably, they think you're doing exceptionally well. And that's when you start to get the big boy offers, that's when you start to get invited to places, that's when people start to pay for your travel. They don't need to know how many of those viewers are real or not. That's what it's all about. There are influencers that rent private jets. There are influencers that rent, you know, Ferraris and Lamborghinis. There are people that rent people. There are influencers that rent models to hang around with them so they look more successful, and this generates more views and clicks, and it's all just this one big circle jerk of appearance of being successful. You get it. The pull of having a large viewer count is huge. Absolutely huge. And if you are looking at this as a business, then it's a benefit to look more successful than you already are, because it's just a big circle jerk of it. But you know what one of the unmistakable actual metrics for how well you are doing or how many of those viewers are real is active chatters, because you can send the data and the details of any Twitch stream, super detailed of any Twitch stream, to basically any company that asks for it. And if you have 10,000 people who are watching you, but the average chatters are like 100 people an hour typing, that's bad. That's not good at all. So if we want to, we can do it right now. If you guys want to generate some really good optics, and I'll show you the optics, just type something in the chat right now. Anything. Doesn't matter what. If you're at work, just tab over, type something. If you're at, you know, school, college, if you're at home, whatever you're doing, turn over and type. And I guarantee this chat will start moving way quicker, which means people are actually listening to it. There you go. There's so many first-time chatters because people just have the stream on in the background. There's loads of people that just, you know, want to have it on as a background thing. That's fine. Not going to talk about that, but that's the amount of people that are actually hanging out. I've had people walk up to me and go, Josh, you're only averaging about 1,500 to 2,500 viewers per stream. That's not very much. And I'm like, no, I'm averaging 1,500 to 2,500 people. That is a huge amount of people. That is an absolutely massive amount of people. And the fact that the vast majority of you guys are going to be actual real people who are sitting and watching is great. And the reason that I haven't botted this stream is because I don't know how to do that. There you go. That's what we needed more of. If that was your first time typing, by the way, thank you. What I'll do is I'll put a screenshot in the Discord of the average messages per hour, and you'll be able to see a spike on that exact moment. Yeah, having 1 to 2... People forget this, and I think the numbers massively warp people's idea. Because I've had people say to me before, oh, unless your Twitch stream's getting 10,000 viewers, you're not even a big streamer. I'm like, yeah. That's like saying if you've got $100 million, you're not rich because somebody else has $1 billion. I think people's kind of level of normalcy with this, level of expectation has been massively warped. People have started to look at only the absolute tip-top, the top, 1% of the 1% of the 1% as any level of successful, when there is a massive amount of what people would refer to as middle class or upper middle class of Twitch. It's not morally, it's incompetence. Yeah, that's what it is. If I'm ever not doing something, don't assume it's because of moral stuff, it's because of incompetence on my part. But it's like the fact that you get kids who just watch the biggest streamers in the world that think anyone else is small. No, it's not. If you have, I think it's over 10 viewers consistently on Twitch, you're in the top 5% of streamers because of the sheer amount of people that get less than 10 viewers. It's absolutely ridiculous. I find it weird. I met someone who mentioned his YouTube channel modestly and how he only had 2 videos with 1 million views. See, Butcher, that's insanely good. Well done to him. That's an incredible thing to get. Yeah, it really is. People don't... I think people forget just how successful smaller elements of things can be. And I think it can almost be quite damaging. It can be quite damaging to kids that want to get into this industry to see incredible levels of success called failures. Now that's a real shame because it begins to get warped. There's actually a really nice kind of parallel here to gym culture and fitness culture, because I like staying fit. I like gym culture. I like kind of being aware of health and fitness and all that kind of stuff. But there is a thing that we call gymflation. Gymflation is a body that we would consider absolutely ripped 15 years ago is now considered out of shape. Yeah, a body that we would consider normal now would be considered hyper fit 5 years ago. You look at any of the gym bros on Instagram, and they'll be posting with like incredibly low body fat percentages, and someone else will be going like, oh man, I can't believe you've been listening for 5 years and you're not like in Mr. Olympia already. Yeah, you see what you mean in bodybuilding. It's different to 20 years ago. Yeah, gymflation or swoleflation. You see bodies now that we would consider absolute peak, 10 to 15 years ago. Absolutely, Flying Bunny, Arnie used steroids too. Nobody at all is arguing against that. But I think what we're seeing is bodies that we would have considered incredibly impressive 10 to 15 years ago, we are now considering average because what we are seeing has become so normalized to only the very, very, very tip top. 100 years ago, you may have seen one absolutely jacked person in your life. Now, you can see 1,000 a day scrolling through, no problem at all. We are constantly exposed to the very best in the world, the most extreme in the world all the time. And that should not be the level of normal. That should be the level of exceptional. But what we're doing, and this is the same thing with YouTube and Twitch, we are seeing people who are exceptional at the top, and that doesn't become exceptional, that becomes the standard. And when you make exceptionally successful the standard, everything else looks like failure, when it isn't. You cannot make exceptional the standard, because all you will then do is give people something to compare themselves to. They will never, or in an incredibly low chance, hold up to. So whenever people say, oh, you've got to viewbot, what they're basically saying is the standard has become so incredibly unlikely to ever be hit that you need to take these steps to fake your way into it. There are educational institutions, you see it quite popular in China, where cheating is not necessarily encouraged, but being caught cheating is heavily discouraged, if you get my drift there. It's one of those things where a lot of people are doing it, and if you aren't, you are at a disadvantage. Think about professional cycling. How many people in the professional cycling world were doing stuff that gave them advantages? Absolutely loads. How many people in the professional bodybuilding... If you are in the professional bodybuilding world and you're trying to get into like Mr. Olympia, you're doing steroids. That's just happening. It is. I'm sorry, there is nobody on the Mr. Olympia stage who is not doing steroids. The thing is that you can't be caught doing it. That's what it is. So I think that when he says there is nobody at the very tip top of streaming who isn't viewbotting, or you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you don't, you've got to kind of draw parallels with the bodybuilding community if you want to be at the very top. You've got to draw parallels with the sporting community. You've got to draw it with the educational establishments. It's not about whether or not you are giving yourself unfair advantages, it's about whether you're being caught doing that. Savage acts of the tiger. Can't use it? That's a shame. Integrity can be a disadvantage to success. And no matter how many people tell you, oh no, I will support you more because you've got your integrity. For every person that says that, there are 10 that will support you if you're successful, regardless whether you have integrity or not. I've got loads of friends who do fitness content, and they say they all want to be the fitness influencer who does it naturally. That's what they all want to be. And you know what? There's a nobility in that. They want to be the natural fitness influencer. And there is definitely a demographic, there's an audience out there who want to see a natural fitness influencer. It's just not as big as the audience that want to see someone who's super, hyper, mega ripped. So unfortunately, by sticking to a level of integrity, you are actually aiming at a much, much smaller audience. Because the people that want the result normally don't care about how you got there. There are a lot, and remember as well, a lot of the audience are kids. And by kids, I mean like mid to late teenagers. You think that a 17-year-old kid is going to look at some absolutely average-looking guy who says, look, I might not be the best, but I'm doing it with integrity. And then they're going to look at some ridiculously ripped dude who's like, hey man, if you do what I do, you're going to look like me and everyone's going to love you. The teenager's going to go for the one that promises that. They want the dopamine now. And when you consider the teenage brain, they might not be wrong for wanting that. The general population understands the amount of steroids involved. Yeah, of course. Absolutely does. Now, natural bodybuilding, you can achieve an incredible physique, but it's not going to look good by comparison. And I think that's what people forget. I really think that so many people think that integrity is a bonus or a boon, when the amount of people that only care about the result is so much higher. People love the idea of integrity when you get rewarded for it. They love that. Comparison is indeed the thief of joy, which is the title of a phenomenally good comedy special. Giano, I think. It's on Netflix. If you get a chance, go and watch it. You know, Mr. Fancy Voice Man, you know what I hate about social media? Do tell me. One wrong move erases everything good you've ever done. Absolutely. Make one wrong person angry, make one powerful person angry, and suddenly you lose it all. You absolutely do. There are kingmakers within the system. Undeniably kingmakers within the system. And there are levels of people that you have to keep happy. But I think operating within any level of system, you have to understand that they are there. Now, you also have to understand that whenever a CEO or someone in a position of power puts out a letter like that, there is often a reason. CEOs, powerful people, anyone with influence, doesn't normally just go into the public arena and say stuff for no reason. Some people do, don't get me wrong. Some people are powerful, rich idiots. But normally, these decisions are made with businesses in mind. What benefit would somebody who is the CEO of a representative company have to say you should be viewbotting? Why would they say that? Now, there's a couple of reasons. The first one is to get ahead. You imagine they're trying to change the terms of service, as viewbotting is technically against the terms. Normalizing it? Yeah, absolutely. To get their clients to viewbot, potentially. For one, I don't know if they do or don't sell viewbotting services. I've got no idea. But if they did, that would be a useful thing to do. Because one of their stars is about to be found out, potentially. Maybe. Maybe it's a case of empowering it, normalizing it, talking about it. The golden parachute time. Devaluing views to imply they're all botted, potentially. I don't think that Night Media has a viewbotting company, no. I don't know either way, but I don't think they do. I don't think they need to. Someone from their business probably knows a guy who can arrange. Of course, obviously, if you're that powerful, absolutely you know somebody. Little on the low side, if that's okay. That's fine. I don't mind that. You imagine it's not very hard to viewbot without knowing anyway. I don't know anything about the viewbotting community. I genuinely don't. If I did, I would have more viewers. I think that there are a couple of ways that you can do it. Basically, you can just purchase a massive amount of, you know, falsified and faked accounts to just sit in the background and occasionally talk, and those accounts will use various VPNs to look like they're from all over the world. It's not like you're suddenly gonna... Like, I think Twitch would probably notice if one account suddenly got like 3,000 viewers from India in one day. Like that would probably be dodgy. I think it's a good word that I would use for that. It's surprisingly easy to detect inorganic user behavior. I don't doubt that at all. I do not doubt that at all. Like, I don't know enough about it to say how it is or isn't done because I'm surprisingly not that technical. But there is also a level of... We often call it the halo effect. Now, the halo effect can sometimes come from someone just being attractive. But the halo effect also comes from a level of success, or at least perceived success. If you are watching a YouTube video or a Twitch stream and you can see that video has got like 5 views, even if it's a really good video, you're not going to be as incentivized to click on it as one with 5 million views. If you see a Twitch stream with 1,000 viewers and a Twitch stream with 2, you're probably going to click on the one with 1,000. Or at least a lot of people would do. I know there's going to be people out there that go, actually, I'd prefer clicking on the 2 one. That's fine. But you are not the majority of people. That's tribalism coming into play, straight up. It is a system that people are going to be encouraged to engage with. Josh, would I remain the same even if I had 100,000 viewers per stream? I think I would find it more difficult to pick out people's individual chat messages, but I don't think I would stop picking them out. I think I would have to manually start scrolling up the chat to be able to pick some stuff out. I mean, right now I'm trying to engage with chat as best I can, while also paying attention to the game. I'm splitting my attention. Thankfully, WoW does not require that much attention. And yeah, I would like to hope that I do. I mean, eventually there reaches a point where even if you do have more people, you don't really notice it. And what I mean by that is, if you have 5 people watching your stream, you can kind of, you know, keep up and know all 5. If you have, you know, 10, kind of the same. When you get into, you know, 500, 600, 700, then it's much more intense. You've got to try and make sure you're reading as much as you possibly can. When you get into, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, that's when you're starting to get faster messages that you're trying to pick out individually. There's not a huge amount of difference in the content of a stream from a 3,000 to a 10,000 view stream. You're still going to be trying to pick out the messages as and when you actually can. Secret Panda, at some point it does become impossible to carry a conversation. That's true. But what you also have to understand is it going to be 10,000 people who are actually engaging? Because it might not be that. It might be 10,000 people with the stream on in the background and only 100 or 200 talking. Once you do get to a point where you just can't process any more of the messages, that kind of happens. It's not necessarily a negative thing. Humans do have limited processing power. We do. We straight up do. The power of being whelming. That's what I try and provide to people. I mean, it can get pretty fast in here. You guys saw what happened earlier when I said to everyone, hey, type a message. Imagine that, but like all the time. The size and the speed of the chat is very important. But again, unless that happens, it would be impossible to say. I mean, we've had big raids before. We've gone up to 5,000 or 6,000 viewers, which has been lovely. And I like to hope that I've not changed kind of how I am with it. Whether I am or not, that's only for you guys to let me know. You kind of hope this chat doesn't get much busier. You like your comments being called out. Yeah, there we go. See, Butcher, it might happen again. To be fair, even if more people watch, it doesn't mean that more people have to engage. But I think it's often difficult to remind people. This is going back to the conversation about cultural expectations. It's often difficult to remind people who are entrenched within a culture that so many people outside have no idea what it is. And so many people outside actually won't care about viewbotting at all. They won't care about the integrity. If anything, they'll just see it as, oh, you're just paying more people to watch, therefore the company get to, you know, spend more money on a bigger advert. And at some point, do you guys care? Because consider this. Let's say that a gambling company approached you and said, we will pay you to do a sponsorship, and we will pay more if your average CCV is higher. You would then be taking money from a gambling company, but you would be, in a way, defrauding them because your average view count is actually not that high. But then you're defrauding a company that you don't agree with anyway. At what point do you see that as a level of Robin Hood connection? You can only sell your reputation once, potentially. I actually don't necessarily agree with that, because I think you can only sell your reputation to people who care once. To people who don't really care, you can sell it as many times as you want. A lot of people think that when a celebrity or someone important or someone famous or someone influential does something negative, they lose everything. Now, sometimes that can happen, but a lot of the time you will see very successful, very powerful people do something that everyone kind of says is a bad thing, that then a month later kind of moves on. I'm not saying that's a good thing, I'm saying it's human nature. You have to understand as well that some audience just do not care. And for every person that says, if you do this, I will stop watching you, there will be 1,000 who could not care less. I remember a few months ago, for some reason, everyone started turning against Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Everyone was like, oh my god, you know, The Rock, he has no principles, he doesn't stand up for anything, he's just wishy-washy, he's in the middle, he's a fence sitter on everything, never takes a stand. And everyone's like, oh my god, this is the end of The Rock, I can't believe that. You know, everyone's turning on him. No, they're not. Some people liked him, some people don't. He continues to make movies. That's kind of it. Because people that watch films with The Rock in don't care about him outside of the films that he's in. Mob mentality has a shelf life. I think people forget this. People love a good drama. What people don't love is when the drama is no longer sexy. People love being part of a mob. And, you know, we're all super excited about Black Adam too. Absolutely. No, that's no offense at all. Pure, there is nothing offensive about that. When you say entertainers are just performing monkeys, I'm going to be real. If you had a choice between watching a performing monkey that is treated well in a humane place, then yeah, go and watch that. That'd be fine. I've been to some lovely conservation acts. I've seen some fantastic, extremely well cared for, clearly very happy animals, and very much in a couple of places. Oh god, yeah. Guys, remember, it's very important to be part of your mob. Your mob is righteous and correct. The enemy mob, that's when there's a problem. Is it bad to separate the art from the artist? It's neither good nor bad. It's just one way that you can be. I'm not going to tell you what's right and what's wrong on that. Some people can, some people can't. Some people like the art, some people like the artist. Some people say that you could only separate the art from the artist once the artist is dead. That's a theory I've heard. I've had friends say to me, you know, oh, hang on, yep, this one. I've had friends say that they don't want to support bad artists when they are alive because they don't like to feel that their money is going to someone that doesn't share morals with them. But once the artist is dead, then they can enjoy the art relatively guilt-free because they're enjoying it knowing that their money is not going to that person. That's what they say. I also think that there is a degree of parasocial connection to artists nowadays which wasn't necessarily as popular when connection to the artist was more difficult. Because we now have unprecedented access to know exactly what people think and feel and do outside of their work. And we use this as a barometer to actually affect our enjoyment of their work. Because, hang on, I can't sap you. I can garrote you. And potentially stun you and keep you locked down. Yeah, sure, but there were loads more options. Exactly, that's true. In Shakespeare's time, people didn't know if he was a good person or a bad person in private. I think that's what's changed nowadays. When people experience any level of art, we actually say, hey, my understanding of the person that created this is itself part of the art. I need to know who created this, how they feel, what they believe in, why they created it, what they want to do with money from it, because that is going to impact my enjoyment of it. And I don't think that's something that we've had to contend with for that long. Like, it's a relatively new social phenomenon. Is it wrong if you just disassociate from that and appreciate the art? Not at all. It's not wrong at all. I realized this in Magic the Gathering specifically. And again, I'll not tell any of you that your political views are right or wrong. You have your own reasons for whatever you have. But there's an artist in Magic the Gathering called Seb McKinnon. I do not agree with several of Seb McKinnon's political views. I never needed to know them, but because of a controversy Seb was involved in, I ended up learning about some of his political views. And I thought, you know what? I've read them. I don't agree with that. I still think Seb McKinnon makes some of the most beautiful Magic the Gathering artwork. So I look at his artwork and I go, yeah, this is an incredible picture. I don't agree with what you do in your free time, but I can understand that what you've created here is an incredible picture, because I also know that what you've created here is not itself kind of magically imbued with your beliefs. I don't think that me enjoying your artwork is me kind of being converted to your beliefs. I don't think that me enjoying the thing you've created is a level of conversion. I don't think it's a level of agreement. I don't think it's a level of acceptance. But there are, and this is an information hazard, we were talking about it yesterday, it is an undeniable fact of human nature that if you know something about someone, you are going to always have that thought at least be a tiny bit in the back of your mind whenever you enjoy anything they've created. If you knew that something had been created by someone who was an absolute monster, there will be a level of, what would be the best way to describe it? Taint to it. What do you guys think about that? Is it something we can get on? Is it spoiled in a way? Yeah, you can think critically about a piece of art, because then what you also have to ask yourself is, now I know that, does this art take on a different aura? If you know that the art has been created by a person or an institution that has a specific leaning one way or another to any kind of, ideology, can you see that in the art? Or is it just a case of, okay, I know the people that created this think this way, and yet it does not change the art? Or do you think that it's impossible to create art while having certain ideological or moral leanings without putting them into your art? Do you think someone that feels really strongly about subject A can create something about subject A that is objectively fair? Or do you think there's going to be a level of propaganda to slowly skew it toward their opinions and their feelings? Socko, that's an interesting point. You don't want to feel like you are financially supporting someone who has, what you would consider to be reprehensible morals. But if you're enjoying the artwork for free, that's fine. In that case, it's not about whether you do or don't enjoy the artwork. It's about whether you are feeling the artwork is being rewarded. The creation is rewarded. In that case, do you feel that it's morally correct to enjoy someone's work without them being compensated for it? The financial compensation can be separate, but if the work would not exist without that person, at what level is your enjoyment of it worth some financial compensation? These are all individual personal boundaries. You cannot codify how people have to or, are not allowed to feel. These are all personal decisions that take a while to work out. Because if you are enjoying and gaining pleasure from a piece of artwork, at what point do you think, okay, you have fulfilled up this much of my free time, I am therefore going to reward you so you can continue to do this? When you say it's not required if passionate but it does help, I think that you can be passionate about something and still require financial compensation to keep doing it. Because otherwise all you will ever get people doing are talented amateurs. There is a level of quality that you will get from paying the best people to do the best job. The decisions are indeed personal. It's interesting too, isn't there? Yeah, we can lose ourselves in art too. We can lose ourselves in art created by artists that we no longer agree with. I think this is philosophy. This is the human condition. Some of you, I'm sure, will have art created by people that you enjoyed as a child or when you were younger, as a younger adult, and now you know more about the artist that created it and you no longer enjoy it. And that leads to the question, is ignorance bliss? Would you have preferred to not know? Because there is a degree where that would have been a moment. Some of you will say, no, I need to know the reality. And some of you will say, actually, yeah, I would have preferred to stay in ignorance. And this brings us back to Cypher from The Matrix, which is why I think The Matrix is one of the best written, best produced films. Because it truly is an idea that gets into the human condition. Context is everything with this as well. The audiobook of Starship Troopers, the book seems very pro-military and pro-war rather than satirizing it. I think the author's actual beliefs are still debated. Not sure I agree with the book, but it makes some arguments worth considering. Starship Troopers has come up so much on this channel. I've said several times that I think Starship Troopers is an incredible film, but not necessarily the best parody or satire, because it just does make the whole thing look really cool. I think it's an excellent exploration of propaganda. I love the movie. I know the movie's propaganda. It's propaganda so good it works on me. Like, I will finish watching Starship Troopers and be like, let's do it. Let's join up right now. I'm doing my part. I do want to know more. And I've got to take a minute. I'm like, ah, see what you did there? Ah, you got me. You got me. You made me want to completely do that. You know? I'll go and kill Clendarthu. Let's go. You know what? I didn't even... When you think about it, the bugs may not have even thrown that meteor. How do we know? It came from that far away. We've got no idea it was launched. It might not have been an attack. We don't know. I think it's a great exploration in propaganda. Plus, it's just a fun film. Like, if a friend of mine has never seen Starship Troopers, we're watching Starship Troopers. That's what's happening. We will sit down, we'll order a pizza. You know, we'll what? Okay. I entirely forgot about Blessing of Salvation. Stops Josh stealing aggro. I want aggro, though. Give me aggro. It never mattered. If you liked something for what it was, and it was still good years later, if your taste hasn't changed, if not, then you just tried to like something. Hero, that I disagree with. I think you can enjoy something. What you have to understand is that the more we learn about the creation around something, the context of it, that will change our understanding and our experience of it. Like, do you guys like The Wizard of Oz? The film, the first original film, The Wizard of Oz. I like The Wizard of Oz. I think it's a good film. And then you realize that they made Judy Garland smoke on set a lot in order to stay thin. And the snow that was used in that film is asbestos. And the paint that they used for the Tin Man was leaded paint. And he got incredibly ill from that. And when you go back and you watch it now and you realize that you're watching is it a 16 or a 17-year-old girl being forced to chain smoke, and then a band of actors being forced to march through a literal snowstorm of asbestos, and then a man be painted up with lead paint and slowly become poisoned from it, you're like, oh yeah, that's actually a really bad experience for everyone involved. But if you don't know that, it's a great film. But when you go back and you watch it, you're like, actually, no, this is, wow. I just realized that actually this is a lot of stuff happening that we shouldn't have it happening. Does knowing that change your experience of the film? You guys ever seen the film The Birds with Alfred Hitchcock? There is a scene where the lead actress in The Birds is attacked by birds. They physically tied the birds to her with string. So when she is swiping at them to get them away, she can't, and they are really pecking her and really scratching her, and it absolutely messed her up. She's terrified of them now. Or she was. So yeah, go back and watch that, and you'll realize that actually a lot of this stuff that is scary, straight up terrifying. Hurts. Painful. So when you said if you enjoyed something as a kid, you have to enjoy it as an adult, even if you learn more stuff about it, otherwise you never truly enjoyed it, I think part of the process of enjoying something as an adult is sometimes enjoying it on more than just a surface level. I think whenever you engage with artwork as an adult, you find an appreciation for the artistry behind something. You find an appreciation for the creative process, the experience of people. Sometimes we learn things about actors that make them come across as monsters. Sometimes we learn things about actors that make them come across as incredibly humble and human. And that can absolutely increase my appreciation of a film. Knowing it changes your opinion about the artist, but maybe not the actual product itself. But if the product is, you know, a product of the actors, it's difficult to separate it. You're not right or wrong for doing it. Immortal Martian, I've heard of that as well. I haven't seen it. Hope I never do, but I have heard of it. I'll give you an example. You guys seen the film Matilda? The original Matilda from the 1990s. I forget the name of the actress that played Matilda, but from what I remember, she was having a bit of a hard time on set, and obviously it's an incredibly demanding, incredibly difficult thing. And Danny DeVito, who played Mara Wilson, Danny DeVito that played her dad in the film, every time the camera stopped rolling, would check up on her, would make sure she was okay, would make sure that she's been treated well, she's having breaks, she feels comfortable with everything, make sure that she knows that he doesn't hate her. Even though it's like his character's shouting at her, she's like, "You doing okay? House up? Let's get Mara in this. Let's get them with that. Let's get her for a break." He was just absolutely all over it to make sure that she was comfortable. And that, when I heard about that, I thought, you know what? I now enjoy this film even more. Because I know that the whole experience... Matilda with Danny DeVito. I enjoy that film even more because I now know that behind-the-scenes element to it made it funnier. and made it more comfortable for those guys. A great example is, have you guys seen Blade Trinity? So there is a really famous Hollywood story about this. It's not the one with the eyes opening on the table, that's a different thing. Blade Trinity, the third Blade film, has Ryan... Is it Ryan Reynolds? It's not the painted eyes story. It's got Ryan Reynolds in it, hasn't it? Before he was Deadpool. No one liked working with Wesley Snipes. He was just so arrogant, so difficult to work with. And Ryan, when he was still a relatively kind of young actor at the time, thought that he had to bow down to Wesley and do everything he could. And eventually the director said to him, Ryan, just do whatever you want. You're turning up on set, you're learning your lines, you're being easy to work with, just do what you want. Which is why so much of Ryan Reynolds' dialogue in Blade Trinity is just purely improvised. Whenever he's joking about stuff, there's a scene in there where they call themselves the Night Stalkers, and Wesley Snipes' Blade goes, the Night Stalkers, sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon. And Ryan goes, well, we were going to call ourselves the Care Bears, but that was taken. That was just a fully improvised line, because Ryan had just had it with Wesley being an arrogant arsehole on set. He just straight up went, you know what, I'm going to improvise lines now and make it really funny. And he brought that traditional Reynolds energy to it. And I really appreciate that. That makes me enjoy the film more. Like, when I go back and watch that film, I now literally just watch it to watch Ryan mess around. What was the Geralt voice? That was Geralt's actual voice. Oh my god, do I enjoy The Fellowship more because the knife parry was real? Of course I do. When you learn more about stuff, you can appreciate it in a different way, or you can dislike it in a different way. Good run, guys, by the way. Josh, you could actually expose armor. I can go and do that if you want me to. It brings a good balance. I think that as you learn more about the art that you value and enjoy, you can either find ways to enhance and improve your love for it, or it will detract from it. But knowing more about anything is an information hazard, because you have to contend with, what if you don't like what you discover? What if you suddenly realize that actually the person that you've been watching isn't a decent person? Am I familiar with... Are you familiar with combo points? No. What are they? I'm just pressing 2 to keep doing Sinister Strike. Now, I've got to level 34, I'll probably hit level 35 soon, and I've got no idea what combo points do. A 22-year-old game, no use found for combo points so far. Susie says, I mean, are you a decent person, Josh? I'm sure some of you will think so and some of you won't. There is no right or wrong answer to that question. It would change based on any individual person's morals and ideals.